Welcome to Wedding BFF. My name is Kate Schmidt and I am your host. As a self-taught wedding planner and owner and chief planner for Celebrate by Kait, I am passionate about creating wedding days that are memorable and tangibly feel like the couple that is being celebrated. On this podcast, you will hear from myself and other guests tips on planning, mindfully creating a day that not only looks but feels good, and how to budget your way to the wedding day of your dreams. Now let's get to discussing your day, your way. Hello. Welcome back to Wedding BFF. I am recording this episode from Chicago, Illinois. Just met up with some clients earlier today and felt like just talking to all you guys. So this is actually my second one I'm doing tonight and just having a lot of fun with it. Let's get started with a series I shall be calling Timeline Tea. We want all the tea. We want to know what's going on. The wedding day timeline is by far the most instrumental part of your wedding day. You could do everything right in terms of planning and your etiquette along the way. But if your timeline is inaccurate, you're going to feel rushed. You're not going to like it. Well, no one wants to be rushed in general, but like on a day dedicated to you and the love of your life, no thank you. The timeline is something at Celebrate by Kait that I have honed over the years and color-coded and just had a lot of fun with. It's one of the things I'm most proud of, quite honestly, thus far in my life because it's foolproof. And over the years, the different things I put together, different tools, questionnaires for clients, have only honed it and made it better. And, quite honestly, I look forward to seeing it take off even further. Like, what else can I do to improve it? It's a working document that I have templates for, but that I'll change as I reflect and figure out what's working better throughout the wedding day. So first episode of Timeline Tea, welcome to it on Wedding BFF. I'm going to do five tips every time. I just wrote out a couple important things that I want to talk about. They might get more focused as we go on specific elements of the day, or they might just be me having fun with my mic. So the first thing, and this has been proven to me so many times, as a day of coordinator, as a wedding planner, we are trusted to put together the perfect day for you. And that means working with other vendors very closely, orchestrating behind the scenes, moving the day along, more importantly, and making it happen. So one thing that causes a little bit of tension in the wedding world is when a vendor's timeline is not respected. Thankfully, I have worked with some amazing vendors, and they'll have a printed copy in front of them. I'm like, this is my love language. This is better than Christmas. Because thank you so much for appreciating the time I put into that or my team, because we're able to put it all together. It is a team effort. Just because you have an amazing planner or day of coordinator, like someone at Celebrate by Kait, does not mean that it is all gonna happen. I can't take all your photos. I can't do the video. I can't make the food. I can't do this. So a long-winded way of saying no one knows vendor timing better than your vendors. And one place I see this get misconstrued really is with hair and makeup. And it was so funny because one of my brides, she was kind of pushing me on the timing for the hair and makeup at one point, and I just said, I don't have a firm opinion on if that's too much time. But what I will say is I'd rather have more time than less time. And then we got together after her wedding day, and she's like, you were right. I thought they were just going to power through each of us 30-minute services each and just we'd be done in 2 hours instead of 4 hours. And she said, thank God, No one wants to be rushed. On a wedding day, having more time than less time is always going to be a win. That's in all areas of life. So don't pressure your vendors, because they're there to do a job. They are the professionals in this situation, and they know how long things take them. And let me tell you, coming from someone who has set 20 tables before by herself, we need all the time we can get, and it always takes longer than you would think. So something to keep in mind for dinner service. When I'm building a timeline, I ask the caterer very specifically, how does this look? Does this flow okay? How much time from first table served to last table served, so that I know we can start speeches? And that is something that has made Celebrate by Kait very successful over the years, because our vendor relationships are key to us. But more than anything, listening to other vendors and respecting other vendors is important. So when you think why does my florist need to get in at this early, or why does hair and makeup have to start at 6 in the morning? There are bigger things to worry about. There's a lot of other issues in this world. So listen to your vendors. No one knows vendor timing better than your vendors. All right, next one. Your day is going to fluctuate. At one point, your day is going to be off schedule. So I have things scheduled, I wouldn't say down to the minute, but sometimes in 5-minute increments, depending on what activity is going on. A speech versus dessert service. Those are going to vary a lot. But things are going to ebb and flow. The goal is always to start on time. But there are different parts of the day and things that happen that are out of your control. They're out of your planner's control. Someone could be really delayed with the flowers. We don't know. I mean, I did a wedding earlier this year, and it ran an hour early. There were 2 religious ceremonies. It ran an hour early. No one was more shocked than me because, they were very, very beautiful, detailed ceremonies. And we were an hour early. So I called the caterer and I was like, you're not going to believe this, but we are super ahead of schedule. Like, when can you get here? And I was like cringing as I was asking because don't rush perfection, but I also needed to get it moving and needed to let them know that we have all these people waiting to go up to kind of like the balcony area for some food, and it's totally not your fault, but like, what can you do? That's an example of a day running early and then there being kind of a long wait for the meal portion of it, cocktail hour portion. It's going to happen, and we all have to roll with it. I think the reason this profession has come so naturally to me is because I'm always in problem solving mode. I'm looking for problems before they happen. But what gives me peace of mind too is knowing every day is going to be different, of course, but if you run ahead of schedule, if you run behind schedule, I build timelines and my team builds timelines very specifically so that there are gaps in there where we can play catch up. Now, there are some times that are, again, a lot of things are out of your control on your wedding day if you really, really think about it. I had a wedding this summer where we were rolling with the timeline. Everything was wonderful. One of the speeches that was supposed to not even be a speech, by the way, it was supposed to be, I'm not even going to go into the details of it, but this person talked for 15 minutes. 15 freaking minutes. I can't make this up. It pushed the rest of the day off so horribly. And I had to make some calls I had to make some different decisions as we were going through the rest of the evening. But really, when you do get to dinner service, like, that's the last stop for the guest experience. After that, people either go dance, grab more drinks, they leave, they do whatever. That was one, I'm gonna be honest, like, we couldn't recover from. But as long as you can get to an on-time dinner service, that's really what matters. Because again, that's the last piece of programming for the day. Be comfortable with the fact that it's not going to be minute by minute, and sometimes you're going to run early, sometimes you're going to run late, but in most cases, you're going to be okay. Like, you're always going to be okay, actually. It's not most cases, it's all cases. You're always going to be okay because guess what? You just got married. That's pretty freaking cool. But we have to be comfortable with the fluctuation and the flow. Okay. Third thing, you need more time for photos than you think. And this goes back to my first point. No one knows your vendor timing better than your vendors. Same with your photographer. If they think we don't have enough time at one point for portraits, like, let's consider getting some done earlier in the day to pose everyone, especially those family formals. I'm sorry, they're painful. I mean, because sometimes Aunt Margaret doesn't fully know what's going on and doesn't know she needs to stay, or you can't hear anything because you're in a large reception place and cocktail hour just started, or it's very venue dependent, but it takes forever to gather those people. And there's a reason you have a shot list, that it can all be accomplished and you don't miss anything. But you need more time than you think. And it really depends too on your personality. Are you comfortable with getting your photo taken? Do you need someone to help you loosen up? Do you need, like, maybe just, a glass of wine or something just to kind of take the edge off if that's your preferred method? I will give a personal example. I am wonderful at getting my photo taken professionally, okay? So I have been for over a decade getting regular headshots done it started with senior pictures, then grew into so much more, and actually a friendship with my photographer who is amazing. But I say all this because then when we went into our engagement photos, I thought I was going to freaking rock it. I did not. Like, you can totally ask my photographer. I am very independent, and I had to depend on Amjad, my fiance, to get these photos done. And like, I'm just way more comfortable when it's just, when it's just me, and I don't feel like I have to pose. I can just be myself, and get some more of those candidates and everything. But when there was another person in the store, like in the picture, like our session took a while because I had a hard time relaxing, and I think I just put a lot of pressure on myself. I really think that's what it came down to, because I know if I'm just going to dip me, I'm going to come back up and I'm going to be okay. That's not the issue, but it was so shocking. And our photos took so much longer because of that. And the nice thing about engagement photos is you can learn these things about yourself, and then you can move on and perform better at the wedding, if you will. You just know different things about, you know yourself better from your photographer's lens and things like that. So photos take a long time. All right. Programming. I say programming a lot, and I just wanted to define that a little more concretely. So I refer to programming because I have a background in corporate events and also in conference planning. So like, programming is the meat and potatoes of the day, right? But realistically, like, your programming, what I'm referring to is anything that happens essentially from your cocktail hour through your dinner service. What are we doing? It's essentially entertainment. Like, what are we doing to keep guests entertained? A very traditional translation of this would be toasts or speeches, dances, first dances, things like that. If you choose to, like, I don't know, I haven't seen a bouquet toss in a long time, but that's an example of, like, how are you filling that time while people are filling their bellies? So outlining the announcements and programming is incredibly important. And I would say that is the part of the day that hinges on so many variables. And that is, like, as strange as it seems, sometimes the most difficult part of the day to execute, because we are dealing with 3 different people speaking. We're dealing with, making sure music is good, soft in the background. We're dealing with, hey, the kitchen's behind, the kitchen's ahead, whatever. There's so many moving targets during that time. So plan that thoughtfully. The rule of thumb these days is 5 minutes for a toast. But, if I have 3 people speaking, I'm going to budget about 20 minutes, because we have to do the introductions. They have to make their way to the front. God forbid something happens with AV. Those are some things to consider. And this is key with a good relationship with your DJs. The DJ tends to be the person I hang out with the most on a wedding day, because we're running the show from a lot of perspectives. So having that very clear, who is doing what, when. And then if, my dad's name is Mike Schmidt, you can't really screw up pronouncing that. My fiance's name is Amjad Thabit, and there's millions of ways you could screw that up. Going through the pronunciation is key too, especially if you're going to do a grand march. Like, let's be respectful to how people actually say their names. But outlining your announcements and programming is absolutely key to the success of a wedding day. It's one of the biggest keys. Having those expectations leveled, budgeting enough time, being able to pivot if you need to. The dinner programming is very important, and it might not seem like it is, but realistically, the rest of the evening, and therefore the big party portion, hinges on it. All right. Lastly, don't wing it when it comes to your timeline, okay? First of all, you need one. I think you know that, and I think that's why you're listening to this podcast, right? But do not, I'm a wedding planner, right? I am self-taught. I would not try to go to my friend's salon and cut hair for her and just not have any background or try to figure it out, like going back to vendors, knowing their timing, same thing. Don't think that you know everything. And the beauty of Celebrate by Kait is any package you're going to book with us, we will do this for you. And it takes several rounds of revision, several questionnaires just to get it, as Goldilocks, like just right. I went to Google University for all this. I was constantly Googling. I was talking with my mentor. I was just trying to figure it out. Now I'm in a groove where it's like, okay, we're good. Once I sit down to do that, I use my template, I use my color coding, and, have at it, right? But make sure you're doing research if you are creating your own timeline, because there's so many unknowns. And I've talked about this on the podcast before. Like, all of my clients thus far have never been married before. Like, so they've been to weddings, but it's a lot different when it's your wedding. So there's a lot of just knowledge gaps, things they don't know. Like, what the heck is attrition? What is this surcharge for? Different contractual elements. Do not pretend to know it all. I really like Brides magazine. It's one of the only things I subscribe to via email is theirs, because it has wonderful articles and just like commonly asked questions with experts chiming in. I would not go to Yahoo, like an article on Yahoo, to write my timeline. It's like when you're in school, like find the right resources. So I always say Brides is great. Usually the Nod, Wedding Wire is pretty good too. And the OG, of course, is Martha Stewart. So Martha Stewart Weddings, like I refer to as kind of the Bible for all of this stuff, because she set the standard for a lot of things in the industry, and clearly has her own magazine and all these offshoots and planners because she knows what she's talking about. So don't wing it. Go to Google University. I did the same thing. Make sure you allocate enough time. So to recap some of those things, I feel like I have said this so many times, but it's so true. No one knows your vendor timing better than your vendors. The day is going to fluctuate and flow. Let it happen. Have some different time pockets built in there for yourself if we need to move around. You need more time for photos than you think. A good place to practice for that is your engagement photos. Outline announcements and programming, make it crystal clear, make the pronunciation correct, and give enough time. And lastly, don't wing it. Go to Google University. Proud grad. I actually do have a marketing degree, but I say for wedding planning, on the job experience, and Google University is how I got to where I am today. So that is episode 1 of Timeline T for Wedding BFF. I hope you found something helpful about this. I'm really excited about this series. Timelines in general create so much anxiety, and they make people so nervous, and like it should to a degree, because it's how your day runs. But hopefully as you listen to this series, you will relax a little bit more, understand some different tips from an industry veteran, and create the timeline of your dreams. All right, I really feel like I should be drinking tea right now, but I'm not. So have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for listening. I'm thrilled that you joined us today. Feel free to check out CBK on Instagram at Celebrate by Kait, spelled CELEBRAIT, by, and my name Kait, Kait, as well as various other online channels where we share our sparkle with the world. Thanks again for joining your wedding BFF. Cheers to your day, your way.